Hi everyone, Moshe Rothschild here for the Global Israel Alliance, bringing you the news from Israel for the week ending Friday, October 25th, 2019. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. This week we finished celebrating the holiday of Sukkot, or in English, the Feast of Tabernacles, and then we celebrated the additional holiday called Shmini Atzeret, and that concluded on Monday evening. So Tuesday, back to work. On the holiday of Sukkot, on the Feast of Tabernacles, there were pictures featuring Benjamin Netanyahu, our Prime Minister, welcoming Mike Pompeo, the United States Secretary of State, welcoming him into his sukkah. Our President, Rivlin, invited the entire nation to celebrate in his sukkah, in his tabernacle. There were lines of thousands of people waiting to get in and take a photograph with the president. Speaking of the president, President Rivlin will give the mandate now to Benny Gantz and the Blue and White Party to try to form a government after Benjamin Netanyahu had failed to form a government. Gantz will have 28 days. Now, of course, it will be impossible for him to form a government unless he gets some of the right-wing parties to jump over to his side, which, quite frankly, I think is unlikely. The most likely scenario, barring any surprise, is that he will fail in his bid to form a government, and then Israel will go to an election a third time this year. Of course, you all know what Albert Einstein said, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So for a very smart country, it looks like we're on the verge of insanity. This week as well, the IDF said that one of its drones crashed in Lebanon this week. The Lebanese media was reporting that Hezbollah had shot down the drone. However, Lebanese satellite television, who is affiliated with Hezbollah, said that it had been shot down with a shotgun by one of the Lebanese villagers living near the border. This was a drone on a regularly scheduled mission, and no intelligence was lost. The rainy season has officially begun in Israel now that Sukkot has ended. We are expecting a very, very rare storm in Israel. They're referring to it as a medicane, which is a hurricane in the Middle East. And we will see what happens over the weekend. Different parts of the country are expecting very, very significant storms. The IDF announced this week, the Chief of Staff, Aviv Kochavi, announced that they're going to launch an unconventional program requiring the leadership, the IDF commanders, to read relevant literature in order to improve in success in the battlefield. So they have to read relevant articles, books, even watch films in order to build professionalism and greater responsibility. And we will see what this does to our military. Mike Pompeo, U.S. Secretary of State, met with Netanyahu this week when he was in the region trying to sign a ceasefire, or at least get Turkey to sign a ceasefire. And he called for renewal of the arms embargo on Iran. And here is what he said. Because of the flawed Iran deal, the UN arms embargo on Iran will expire in 1 year. He was referring, of course, to the nuclear deal reached between Tehran and the six world powers, including the United States and President Obama. And he continued, countries like Russia and China will be able to sell Iran sophisticated weapons. The Iranian regime will be free to sell weapons to anyone. This will trigger a new arms race in the Middle East. Another reason why, of course, Donald Trump pulled out of this terrible agreement that President Obama had signed. So hopefully there will not be an arms race in the Middle East, but let's see what happens. In some good news, the Israeli military hardware company or military hardware and software, I guess, called Rafael. They will deliver their first trophy active protection system for M1 tanks, which is a dramatic development. The trophy system, which is developed, it's an anti-missile missile that defends tanks. A system developed by Rafael here in Israel was now purchased by the United States Defense Department and will be used on the United States M1 tanks. It's really an incredible development for Rafael and the Israel Defense Ministries. Now, in some very interesting and couple pieces of good news, the Israeli-American-Swedish astronaut Jessica Meir became the 4th Jewish woman and the 15th Jewish astronaut overall to be part of a space mission. This week was the first ever all-female spacewalking team, which included this Israeli, American, Swedish, I guess she has 3 passports, Jessica Meir, who exited the International Space Station this past week. And finally, Israel will be sending the biggest delegation ever to the Olympics in 2020. I believe over 80 Israeli athletes will participate in the Olympics in 2020. So a few housekeeping announcements. Again, if you're interested in coming on the first ever mission to Poland for Christians, although we will take some Jews, if you're interested, that's happening in October 2020. We will release the final price coming in a couple of weeks, but we have the itinerary, we have everything ready. Send me an email. We'd love to hear from you. If you're anywhere near Tulsa, don't forget, December 8th will be our conference. The Israel Conference is going to be spectacular, and we'd love to see you there. Go to our website, Israel Alliance, and you can sign up for that, israelalliance.org. That's it. This is Moshe Rothschild wishing you a wonderful Shabbat, a great Sabbath, and we'll see you next week. Sorry I missed last Friday, but we were in the middle of the holiday. All the best. Moshe Rothschild, Global Israel Alliance, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom.